All right, so I'm Jerome, solution engineer working at Unity here, based in London. And originally from France, as you can probably tell by my accent. This is a quick overview of Unity. So show of hands here, who has used Unity in the past? Raise your hands if you have. Okay, we have a couple. Oh, we have quite a few. All right, so maybe I'll quickly go through the intro slides, which go over some of the information here about Unity. So Unity is one of the leading content creation platform for real-time 3D. We have a pretty massive community, so the numbers might be hard to read if you're not close enough, but on average, monthly, we have over 1 million people using actively our platform to create content, right? This is games and other applications. XR, AR is obviously one of the main use case also. We have a very thriving asset store also, where third-party developers from the community are able to sell their assets to each other to help accelerate game development. And last I checked, which was actually last year, our editor was downloaded about 30,000 times a day, right? So quite a huge reach when it comes to content development. And our core belief at Unity is we believe the world is a better place with more content creators in it, right? And our focus is to enable those content creators to reach their audience. So as we know, the world is changing and everything is moving to real time, right? 2D is now moving to 3D. Asynchronous pipelines like, offline rendering to make shiny images are now becoming real-time interactive. Individual gaming experiences or individual experiences are becoming social and interconnected. And obviously, passive media consumption is now being becoming interactive more and more. And we need the platform and content and tools to create this. So our focus at Unity is to create content and also the operational services to help you deploy that content, which is quite crucial, as you will see for AR and VR. These are the platforms that we officially support. So official support for us means that we have actually tight relationships with those platform owners. We do co-engineering. We make sure that our engine is aligned with their roadmap, and that as soon, for example, as Google with AR Core or Apple with AR Kit or PlayStation and Xbox releases new hardware or new software, our engine supports it out of the gate so our developer can start developing for those new platforms immediately, right? And this is really the core of what makes Unity great, is this type of relationship that we have with the main software and hardware vendors, and that also include things like ARM, for example, Intel, NVIDIA, right, as core technology platform, which are not necessarily mentioned here. So just a few stats, right? So we deploy to about 20 platforms. About half of all the games across medium or across hardware are made with Unity, and 54% of all the games, of the top games on mobile are made with Unity. Obviously, mobile is our main raison d'etre, I would say, right? This is why Unity was such a success, is we were the early adopter and the first engine to actually target iOS. We also have a pretty established presence now in non-gaming areas. So this will be media and entertainment, architecture, construction and engineering, and automotive, where we have also solution partners, and where I met Brian, actually, right? So we don't estimate, we actually know that with Unity, made with Unity content touches about 3 billion devices monthly. Obviously, these are mostly mobile devices, but desktop is also there, and things like the HoloLens. So quite a massive pool of content being developed with our platform. Operation services for Unity. So, you make a VR game and you want to release it to the masses. Obviously, you're going to upload it to Steam, etc. But for mobile, it's a bit dissociated. So we provide, various services and solutions, including obviously the main one being monetization. So the ability to make free-to-play game and then monetize them pretty much in one click in order to make money with your games, right? But also, player acquisition is a big reason why people use Unity ads. We have an ad network. It's not necessarily, advertising toasters, etc. It's more focused on player acquisition. So bringing player from one IP to another. These are some of the games that we have powered with our services, and yes, Epic is a customer, so we love them. and all of our operational services for gaming are agnostic. They work pretty much in any engine. And this is a stats from our voice and chat service called Vivox, which is actually was used by Fortnite. And this is, on average monthly, 120 million people are connected on that platform, right? So we operate, we have operational services that are of a pretty massive scale in gaming.
Excuse me, Jerome, just a second. Can everybody see the slides? I just want to make sure if that's working correctly for everybody.
Oh, sorry, yeah. So it should say Cortec right now.
Yeah, you all see it, right? Okay, good.
All right, awesome.
Sorry for that.
So the latest release of Unity is Unity 2019.3. This will be actually the last year where you really get a .3. We are now doing two what we call feature release. So up to 2019, we were doing 3 feature release a year, and then we have a 2019.4 that's going to come out soon, which is what we call the long-term support release, which is then supported for 2 years after its release, right? And then after that, we invite a customer to switch to the next version. Obviously, if you, especially if you work in VR or AR, the platforms are shifting really quickly. So we need to keep updating the engine in order to remain relevant. But this shipped a couple of months ago, actually, 2019.3, with over 260 new features and loads of improvement. And I'll cover quickly some of the high-level ones here. So performance is the big one, is being graphical performance or just execution performance. This is a frame from a demo that you can find online called Mega City, which is a proof of concept or a demo around what we call data-oriented technology stack, which is basically bringing a massive multi-threading performance boost to Unity, right? And the idea here is to make things run as fast as possible across the hardware. CPUs are not necessarily getting faster, they just get more and more threads, so we need to tap into that, being on mobile, but also on desktop and others, right? It's especially relevant on mobile because we can execute really fast and then pause our execution so the devices cool down and uses less battery overall, and you don't get thermal throttle. Graphics, we completely re-engineered our graphic pipeline about 2 years ago. We call it the scriptable render pipeline. So Unity, unlike Unreal, is closed source. Unreal is open source. We are closed source, but we view ourselves as an open platform where we expose all the APIs required for our developers to customize their content to their needs. And for graphics, rather than have a monolithic render pipeline and assume that this is what you need for your experience, provide a scriptable, extensible pipeline that you can tweak all the way down to a low-end mobile device and all the way up to the latest RTX hardware from NVIDIA. And then as you scale, depending on the performance and requirements of your application, you can then either use the two that we provide. We have a universal render pipeline, which is one of the options you can use, or the high-definition render pipeline, which is focused on desktop and next-gen console performance, things that you could use, for example, for high-end visualization in VR, right, and really tap into the latest NVIDIA or AMD hardware. Simulation, machine learning, and AI are also a big focus of our platform. This is where we see a lot of adoption. Those frames are from an LG simulator, for example, that was going to be Unity. And what they do here is, you can send cars in the wild to take footage or sensor data from whatever is on board, or you can simulate it safely and at scale within a game engine, and then use that data to train your algorithm, so you don't run over people or things on the road. So this is a big use case for us now, and in this age of automation, and a lot of customers are using Unity to generate that data and train their algorithms. Project Tiny is also a really interesting development. So I mentioned quickly DOTS before, data-oriented technology stack. And Project Tiny is basically the first iteration of our new runtime, right? So the Unity runtime that we've been using for over 15 years now, this is the main player, right, that gets packaged with your application when you develop for various platforms, is quite bulky and has a lot of features in it, which come regardless of the fact that you use them or not. So it's pretty monolithic in its design, and we decided to re-architecture the whole thing so that we have a really modular and provide on most platform instant experiences. So complete control over size. So basically whatever you don't need doesn't get compiled with your application. Same editor experience as you have for regular Unity. There's no difference there, but obviously scalable performance because it's fully multi-threaded by default, right? So we are doing this because we need to evolve and match, the landscape that our creators are targeting. So for example, this is a quick Android application that you see here called Tiny Racer, which loads in less than 2 seconds, right? And that application, actually, there's a QR code there. When we share the slide, you'll be able to scan it and go to the web version of this and get an instant game experience. Project Tiny is going to be officially released at the end of the year. So the MVP is going to come out. Preview is available now. It's under heavy development, so use at your own risks. But if you decide to use it, feel free to share the feedback on our forums. The development team are super active there, and it's really a fun environment. We're seeing a lot of adoption for instant games, but also soon we plan on adding AR capabilities to this and tap into web AR, for example, and allow to easily create and deploy AR experiences via the browser on mobile. There's some really cool resources online also to get started with this. I love the little tiny factory. I mean, Brian, I know this is not necessarily an industry-focused group, but these are some of the use cases you can do, and you can see the whole experience along with the animation is less than 500 kilobytes, right? Not megabytes, but kilobytes. So really focusing on size, and most of this is actually open source. So you can really go to town and tinker with it. For industries, I'll cover this because this is my area of expertise. So for AEC, we see a lot of use cases for Unity, for example, Reflect, which is a new tool that we released last year. This is a content aggregation server, basically, that allows you to pipe data from sources like Revit or SketchUp, and soon Navisworks, actually, to enable real-time use cases of that data efficiently. So you can basically go from a Revit model to a building site almost entirely automatically without having to do a lot of data preparation, etc. All the heavy lifting is made by Reflect. Tactile is one of our content development partners. They've been featured at a lot of our conferences, and they do obviously training and maintenance guidance on the shop floor with HoloLens. Automotive transport and manufacturing. Some of you may have seen the work that Volvo and Vario are doing around augmented safety features, for example. They are working on getting regulatory approval to actually drive a Volvo car with a Vario headset and use their platform to test, augmented reality features in the car, specifically around safety and object detection, like that massive moose over there that's about to cross the road. So this is being developed in collaboration with Unity, and is a really good use case of prototyping for VR, for example. And then I mentioned this is a bit old, but it's a BMW ray tracing demo, so Unity, and it's a really good use ray tracing dominant. So we have ray tracing, it's in preview, and if you want to make super shiny images without having to worry about light transport, then you can use ray tracing today in Unity. HMI is also an area where we are making inroads, and again, talking to Brian and his friends on this. This is a nice little demo that we showed at CES this year. So this is running on an NXP board, and for context, NXP are actually pretty inexpensive single board computers that would get embedded into a vehicle. Up to now, this pipeline, we're using proprietary tools and not really rendering anything shiny in 3D. So with NXP, we wanted to show that it's possible to do some advanced graphics rendering on embedded platforms like in-car entertainment systems, and even the cluster, right? So the instrument cluster that's critical to inform the driver. And this demo is running on their board. It's actually 4,000 pixels wide by 1,000 pixel high, and is able to run a full-fledged Unity game while also maintaining the cluster and etc. So as you can see, we really try to be agnostic when it comes to the end product. You can do tiny experiences on HMI all the way to high-end visualization, CG quality renders with our like Heretic demo, for example, or Digital Human. Games, well, that's kind of like the obvious. Shadowgun War Games, for example, is a long-running franchise of Shadowgun that has been using Unity and really pushing the envelope when it comes to mobile and desktop gaming. Disco Elysium was one of the most awarded games of 2019, also made with Unity. And then I'll quickly present Million Entertainment. So if those of you have seen the latest reboot of The Lion King, well, that frame at the top left there is actually in Unity, and they use Unity to do virtual production and to frame all the shots, right? So Jon Favreau was using, the director was using a Vive, for example, to work the set. They would capture all the shots at MPC, which is also in London, actually, and was the lead VFX house working on that side of the production. And then send that to the traditional CG pipeline to render, the 30 of house working on that, then make it into the movie. But using virtual production, they were able to really speed up the filming of this completely virtual set, right? And that's also to bring in physical hardware that directors or camera operators and are used to. They work with traditional hardware that they use and love. They just 3D track it and use that for the digital production. XR. So finally, yeah, we are all in VR. By the way, our Space VR is made with Unity, in case you were wondering. So XR is a huge focus for us, and it's definitely one of the areas of massive adoption of Unity. As I mentioned, we're working really closely with Apple and Google on ARKit, ARCore. We were the launch engine for Microsoft HoloLens, so about 90% of all the HoloLens content is made with Unity. We're working also closely with Magic Leap. We have direct partnership with Oculus and Facebook, but also Windows Mixed Reality and PlayStation VR, right? And as I mentioned, the reason for this partnership is, first of all, to streamline the entry point for our developers into these technologies, right? But also to ensure that we have parity between what those platform and hardware developers release and the capabilities of Unity. So first one I want to touch on is if you have used Unity in the past, you work in the Unity editor, you do your code in C#, and then you export a build, right? This is the traditional way that most people have been working with Unity, but it doesn't scale necessarily to all the use cases on the market. One of the things we released officially last year is called Unity as a library. That means that within a native application on Windows or iOS and Android, you can embed Unity for example, 3D rendering, or to add VR capabilities to your native application on Windows, right? So you don't have to recreate the whole thing in Unity. You can embed Unity as a separate process, right? You can even tell it to paint to a specific context and basically use us for what we do best, which is real-time 3D graphics and interactivity with those objects, but keep the rest of your application in your native workflow, right? And this is an example. IKEA Place uses Unity as a library in order to be able to pop all those 3D models within the environment, right? And that's really where we're seeing a lot of adoption of Unity, is using Unity as a library. I just wanted to mention that it's also available on desktop if that's something you're targeting.
If you do this, are you still going to get the launch screen from Unity, or how is the interaction?
Well, that's only on that's usually only on mobile, and also if you don't have a Pro or Plus license. So the free Unity has a watermark at the beginning. You can disable that in the Unity editor once you switch to Plus and or Pro, right? Or you can leave it. I mean, we don't mind if people advertise that they are using Unity, right? So it's all good. But yeah, the launch screen can be removed. It's just not removable on the free version. Yeah, by the way, because I didn't mention, right, Unity is free. So for personal use, and you only need to pay if you make over $100,000 a year. Then you need to get a Plus license. Over $200,000 a year, you need to get a Pro license. But if you're just tinkering with Unity for your personal fun, then there's no charge there, right? So feel free to download it, install it, and play with it. The AR Foundation is a package that we developed to abstract most of the AR platform. The idea is you develop features against AR Foundation and then seamlessly deploy your experience to ARKit, AR Core, and now HoloLens and Magic Leap. Most of the core features of those platforms are supported out of the box, and then once you tap into more advanced or platform-specific features, you can bring in that platform's SDK into Unity, right? But AR Foundation really allows you to quickly prototype applications, and what you can see here, they're using I believe a Pixel phone and an iPad, and the same experience works. You just need to rebuild it, build it for each platform, which is as simple as a couple clicks in Unity. XR Interaction Toolkit is a free package that we developed to also streamline the creation of interactivity in Unity. So this allows you to quickly add features like grabbing, selecting, tapping on objects, etc., without having to necessarily code your own solution. And as I mentioned, just like AR Foundation, XR Interaction Toolkit is a package you can add to your project, and it's free, right? And also open source. So if you want to learn from it, that's a good way to start. Mars is a product we just released. So this is an add-on to the editor, and it's the Mixed and Augmented Reality Studio. Focused on XR authoring, so this is really to speed up the creation, debugging, and testing of XR experiences. Anything from facial tracking, for example, to VR or AR. This is also focused on testing without hardware, right? So being able to use, for example, a video stream of someone's face in order to test, facial tracking on mobile. So a lot of cool features. It's just been released this week, actually. So it's available on our website. You can check it out. Comes with a 45-day trial if you want to just give it a go before buying, right? And then that's it for me. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. I see a lot of raised hands. Yeah.
Carlo. Are you muted? Carlo, unmuted. Oscar, have you got the mute?
I can hear Carlo, I think. Let me get closer to him. Yeah, I can hear him.
Yeah,
but
boost it up.
Carlo,
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Jerome, thank you for the talk. It was wonderful. Linking back to one of the original conversations before the talk, we had a discussion about realism and what was required. And I think one of the tools that works really, really well in UE4 is Quixel and Quixel Megascans, specifically linking to photogrammetry and commodity-based depth sensors, point cloud scanners. I was just wondering about Unity's roadmap for support for both point clouds, but also photogrammetry support, and if there's something like Quixel going to be integrated into the future.
So Quixel is actually platform agnostic. So it works in Unity, works in, it's free for Unreal use cases. That's the only difference. But you can get Quixel content inside Unity. Do we plan to do a competing service? I don't think so. This is not what we usually do. One thing that we did is we did acquire Art Engine, Artomatics they're called, and they make a tool called Art Engine, and Quixel is one of their customers. That's what they use to create some of the materials for the Quixel library. Usually we focus on low-level tools, and then we let the community develop this type of features like photogrammetry assets, for example. Point clouds are, there's a few assets you can buy on the asset store which add point cloud support to Unity. There's also a couple of projects from Kijiro in Japan that take point cloud and then bring them into the VFX editor, for example, for rendering. So there's a few options. We also have a commercial. Sorry.
The Kajiro one, for example, is only supporting a little endian file format and requires a bit of playing with conversion on the point cloud. So it's not really typically the user-friendly process you'd experience from the Unity pipeline naturally. And that's kind of what I'm alluding to. Is there a roadmap to supporting these more commodity-based sensors?
We have Pixies, which is a data preparation tool that has Pixies plugin for Unity, and that's for now the way we want people to import point cloud. It's not free, but I don't think we're going to develop a competing solution for now.
Okay, thank you very much, Jerome.
Yeah, and I mean, with Pixies you can also do point cloud editing and point cloud LODs, for example. So there's a lot of really cool features in there. Ping me an email and then I can send you the information.
Sure.
I think that Pixies offering the trial. Yeah, sorry.
Costas?
Yeah,
you need to boost your sound a bit.
Thank you. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's good.
So it's
Yeah,
good.
that's all right.
Okay. I've seen all this talk. I mean, it's fantastic work how Unity is going, but I'm wondering, what about VFX? I mean, especially in VR, is something that I think, is not as I don't know, good. Let's say it's when it comes to particle systems and liquid simulation and so on. What is the roadmap for Unity for doing this stuff?
So the 2019.3, so if you want to do advanced particles in Unity, you need to use the high definition render pipeline, and within that package comes the VFX editor, right? And that's a GPU accelerated particle system creator. It's a node-based editor, so there's no coding. It's all visual graphics, and then you can pretty much handle multi-million particle systems with ease. So it's fully supported in VR. HDRP is fully supported in VR. Obviously, you need pretty high-end graphic cards that's not gonna fly on the Quest. But if you're developing for desktop and you want to do advanced particle effects, the VFX editor is there, right? It's a package inside the Unity editor. You go to Package Manager, install HDRP, the high definition render pipeline.
I have tried it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that's the way we would advise people to to go for. And there's SDF support, for example, if you want to export files from Houdini and take them in order to use them in the particle in the VFX editor to fake surfaces of 3D volumes, for example. So yeah, lots of cool stuff there.
Okay.
Any more questions from anybody? Just raise your hand. Yes, Marius.
Yeah, Jerome, you mentioned before some companies and devices you're actually working together with Unity. Is any plans or any plans for the near future to actually implement new Azure Kinetic cameras in Unity? The Unity is working together with Microsoft. Azure
Connect?
Yeah.
I thought it worked. There's Kijiro has a few repo already using it, right?
It's a workaround via the third-party companies like IPsoft, and I think it's the EV company as well. They're offering like a pipeline to Unity, but it's first of all it's not free, and it's not really stable to even for trial versions.
Well,
so I thought maybe Unity is working together with Microsoft and we have an open conversation.
I'm sure we are. I was hoping to get actually Azure Connect soon, just to start testing, but I haven't yet. I'll reach out to my contact at Microsoft and ask what's available today. There should be something because they mostly use Unity anyway. So
Okay. Any more questions? Alex, you must have some.
I was definitely going to ask the same thing Costas was talking about from the VR point of view, and then someone else mentioned the photogrammetry thing. So, yeah,
Yay.
it was really good though. Thanks, Jerome. I really liked
You're welcome.
hearing all of the stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we recorded it as well, so that's great.
Shit.
Any
Yeah,
more
and-
questions from the audience at all? I think I heard some talking. I don't know whether it's... No? Okay. Carry on, Joe. Sorry.
Jerome, I was going to ask actually your background. What was your background? I didn't hear, where did you start?
Well, I go all the way back to Flash, actually. So I started in late
Oh, really?
90s as a Flash developer, Flash designer and developer. And then 10 years later, so in 2010 about, had to switch to Unity for a project because Flash wasn't performing on a device we were using. And then from then on, I started being a Unity developer, then technical director, and finally joined the mothership and started at Unity in 2 years ago. So.
Cool. Cool.
So if usually what happens is we have a big community and they tend to develop solutions which makes no sense for us to compete with by releasing our own. So things like Pixies, for example, that I mentioned, that can do a lot of the data preparation when it comes to various CAD models, but also point clouds. You were mentioning dissemination of meshes. That's what they do, right? They're super good at it, and there's no reason for us not to do this. So we tend to partner with a lot of these companies in order to add features to our ecosystem without necessarily destroying their business because we decided to make a competing solution. So hopefully that's going to stay that way. I mean, we do have some things that we develop internally, not necessarily destroying their business because we decided to.
Excellent. Okay, I think we've got our time back. Jerome, thank you very much.
Yeah,
That was really
apologies for the audio difficulties.
No, it's a problem. It always goes on. You mentioned about sharing the slides. Are these slides available or some sort of pack that could be shared within
I'll do a PDF of them and then I'll send it to you, Brian.
Yeah, and I will lay it onto the.
I mean, actually, you're not on desktop, but this is the thank you slide with a little QR code for a tiny eraser. So make sure to go check out that when you get the PDF.
Yeah.
I scanned it and I tried it out. It works really well on mobile as well.
Yeah. This is a mobile first platform, right? So that's the actually it's our first mobile first platform because Unity was shoehorned in
WWDC.
It was shoehorned onto the web, in order to work with our current WebGL export. But this is really a small modular runtime that works perfectly for mobile, especially mobile browser-based experiences on mobile. So,
and
it
you
is
said
the future, my friend.
AR as well, Jerome.
Not yet, but that's coming.
Okay, soon.
Yeah. Soon. That should be part of the MVP towards the end of the year. For AR now, if you want to inject AR features from Unity into your application, well, if it's not a native Unity application or if you want to keep a native application and just embed Unity, I recommend Unity as a library, which, by the way, on iOS, for example, is the default way we package Unity. It is, we export an Xcode project because you can't build directly to iOS devices. And that Xcode project uses Unity as a library to manage the experience, the Unity experience. So it's already here.
Is there anything that doesn't work in Unity as a library, or is the whole thing basically there?
I would say the only drawback right now is that once you fired up Unity as a library, you can't really reclaim all the memory it uses. So be mindful of that when you develop your application. They're working on it to make it so that when you kill that application, we deallocate all the resources. But for now, there's a cost, and obviously there's a big cost. It's a few megabytes to add to your application just to embed the Unity runtime as it is today. So it's not all rosy, right? But we are working on improving this as fast as possible.
The big upside.
As far as features, everything should work.
Yeah. The big
Carlo,
upside
did you
I
have
see from
another
it is
question?
that you can have
Yes,
your
please.
normal UI that you would develop anyways, and then just have some Unity for AR or things like that.
Exactly.
Carlo.
Talking about modularized packages, is Project Tiny going to be the default? I'm guessing that's sort of the standard and obvious response.
No.
But no, it's not. Okay.
No, it's the default is what we have today, and it's going to stay that way for the foreseeable future. When you install Project Tiny, you'll see that the editor and the whole UX of the editor and the packaging, etc., changes. So it's a different workflow, but it's within the Unity editor, and once you add it to a project, that's when things change, right? If you don't install that package, nothing changes, and it's not going to change for the foreseeable future. It's in really early preview. I think there's 17 packages, and only one of them is not in preview, right? That make Unity Tiny. So for now, the default is what we have today, and slowly but surely we're going to augment that with a Tiny workflow. But it will be the same editor, but that's going to be opt-in features, right?
Okay, so with Project Tiny, I can see the benefits naturally from modularization to portability to thermal capacity on devices. But if I guess there's obviously a significant performance boost for including it into certain projects. What are the limitations to that? And I guess that kind of alludes to why it's not going to be transferred into the default status.
Well, that's actually the reason is that it has a lot of limitation because it's not a fully fledged runtime yet, right? It has some animation features, a bit of 3D rendering, but it's lacking advanced physics, etc. So it's a nascent platform, I would say. For now, the default fully fleshed Unity player is the way to go if you want all the bells and whistles of Unity. But if you want to tap into the subset of features and explore these instant-on experiences, for example, especially for marketing, sales, etc., this is going to be huge for retail. Then that's the way to go, because this is really where we're going to be focusing a lot of effort in the future.
Thank you.
Excellent. Mike, it came forward. I don't know if you've got a question at all.
No, sorry, I was just experimenting, but it's been very interesting. So I'm probably the customer as well from the other end, so it's good to see the developments and the direction that Unity is going as well.
Excellent. Well, what we'll do is Jerome will give us a PDF. I'll put it out on the XRFILES LinkedIn group so that you can have a browse through that. And any questions that you want to ask, either Jerome directly or you can come through Alex and myself, and we can pass those questions on about Unity. That's 8 o'clock. Brilliant. Thank you very much for Jerome. I think it was a really informative presentation, and I'm glad we got it sorted in the end.
Awesome.
We all have to put these clappy things now. Like that.
Is it bad if I clap myself? I shouldn't.
You can clap yourself if you want.
Do it again, guys, so I can take a picture.
Okay, clapping. Let's take a picture.
On, clap.
I'm doing the rosy cheeks things.
Perfect. All right.
But thank you for hosting me.
We've got another event in 2 weeks' time, and we will start to work out what that's going to be. Alex, you're going to say something? You're waving? You're just waving goodbye. Have you lost your voice now?
Doing the rosy cheeks things.
No, can't hear you, Alex. Oh, he's gone.
No.
Okay, so we will do this one in 2 weeks' time. We will either be here or we'll be in Engage or another, and we will advertise it on the LinkedIn group page. If you haven't joined and you want to join the XRFILES, just look for XRFILES on LinkedIn and join, and pass any comments that you want to. Any feedback's welcome, as long as it's within reason. But thank you everybody for coming, and hopefully see you at the next one.